Hello and welcome back to the channel for another College TF review. Today we'll be taking a look at the MHZ toys, apologies if I'm butchering that, MHM-01 Supreme Commander, which is a slightly upsized knockoff of the Hasbro Studio Series Buzzworthy Bumblebee SS-102 Optimus Prime. Really excited to finally take a look at this guy. He has some interesting kind of retools from that Optimus Prime, and as you can see, some Supreme paint apps accompanied by tons of accessories. So I got this from Shorzy Store. Check out the link in the description to get yours. Definitely recommend this figure. But let's get right into this review. So before we take a look at Prime himself, let's just take a look at the box. Again, you can see it's Optimus Prime from the Rise of the Beast movie, but you can see that Loud About logo, of course, has been taken out. It looks really good. And then the box just has tons of pictures of all the accessories that he comes with, which of course I will review later, and you can see how fantastic that truck mode looks. That looks really, really good. And the bottom shows more of his accessories. So let's talk about all that, but before we do, you do get instructions, and these are not the same instructions as with the Hasbro toy. They are different, but it's still basically the exact same transformation with only a few minor changes, which I think lead to massive improvements in his alt form. But here is MHM-01 Supreme Commander, and he is looking quite supreme in my opinion. Very, very nice looking bot. He also feels really nice. He does have die cast, definitely in the crotch piece here, and maybe some more inside. He has a really nice weight to him. And no joints are like overly tight or anything. I do have a few minor tolerance issues, which I'll get into later. But you can see here with a few of his accessories, a few of his many accessories. So let's start with talking about those. So of course, as you can see, you get one arm blaster for his right arm and one for his left arm. Now I have found on the left arm, this one does not like to tab in very well. It kind of falls off due to how tiny that port is, which is more of a problem with the original Hasbro figure. Honestly, if they gave him bigger guns, they would be hard to port in. But it is a mirror of the other side, so that is really nice. So you get another gun. You also get a sword for his right arm, in addition to the one that comes with his left arm. Then, like the Bumblebee movie Optimus Prime, you do get just a good old iron blaster, which is really nice, and he can hold it in his hand, no problem. So if you want him wielding an iron blaster, you could have him wielding the iron blaster. You also get, let's move him back a little bit just so you can see. So you can see the tolerances on the gun are a little bit loose, but it still holds on. On the right arm, it holds on pretty solidly. Left arm, I can get it to hold on. It just takes a little bit of time. You also do get an axe, like the one included with Optimus Prime from Studio Series. You just unpeg the bottom, and you can slot it into his hand, no problem. So there you go. And that isn't even half of them. So then you get this whole bag of accessories, and I've kind of resorted them from how they're packaged. But in here, you do get a whole bunch of mounting pieces for mounting the weapons in alt mode for storage. I won't really be going over how to use them, but the instructions do include them. So if you want to mount all your accessories in alt mode, you can. I think it looks kind of silly, but that's what those pieces are for. You do also get the transwarp key. Now this hasn't been painted, it's just like in the silver plastic, and it does not come apart. So here's just comparison with the one that came with Studio Series Primal. So you can see it's much bigger, but definitely the Studio Series one is better. But you do get that accessory if you did not pick up Studio Series Primal. You do get that as well. And you, of course, get the original gun that comes with the standard SS-102 Optimus Prime, which, speaking of, I'll bring in here for comparison, just so you can see, first off with gun size, overall how much bigger this Prime is. And I'll just put them next to him so you can see the differences there in size and paint apps. There's a lot of differences, which I'll get into once I'm done with all these accessories, because that is just about halfway. Now we get another bag of accessories, and in here are a whole bunch of very interesting accessories. So first, we do get some hologram pieces, which can peg onto Prime's forearm. One is the Earth, and the other is the transwarp key. So just to demonstrate that, you do get 5mm port on his arm there, which actually I don't think it's 5mm on this guy. I'll try it in a minute, but you can peg that in there like so. Let's see if it works on your standard Prime. Nope. So the port size on this guy is not 5mm, it is bigger. So just be wary of that. It isn't standardized because it is just an upscale. So, but you can peg in either of these hologram accessories if you so choose. And then all the remaining accessories go with a new version of Noah Diaz in his exosuit. And this thing looks fantastic. Very, very nice. So get into articulation of it in a minute, but you do get 2 blasters. These are symmetric, so you can put them on either side, and it does just port into that slot there, little tab on the bottom, and that pegs right in. And it is blast effect compatible, and there are 2 blast effects that are included for the blaster. So you get 2 of these, 1 for each blaster, and you can have that going on, which is pretty cool. You do also get 2 swords. These are not symmetric, but you can choose whichever one to go on each side. I don't think it really matters, depending on how you want the blade oriented. But there you go. There's 1 arm blade, so you want that. You can do that. And then on this jetpack, which is also removable, just tabs right in and back, you do get blast effects for that as well. So these, the blast effects are all kind of keyed. One circular port for the blasters, and another one's a rectangular port for the jetpack. And so you can have Noah with his jetpack firing too, which is really, really cool. And this guy's crazy articulated as well. Ball joint the head, so he can look all the way up. He can rotate the full 360. He can kind of tilt side to side ever so slightly. He can look down a little bit. Ball joints at the shoulders, so full rotation there. He can hinge all the way out like that. No bicep rotation, but you do get past 90 degrees out of the elbow. Then you do get a ball joint at the waist, so you can swivel. You can ab crunch forward and back. You take off his jetpack, he can crunch ridiculously far backwards, but then he also has ball joints at the hips. So you can kick very far in all directions. You can do the splits. That is as far as the knee does bend. I tried to bend it further. Do not recommend it. So that is about as far as that bends. And he does have ankle rocks in both directions and ankle tilt up and down. So very posable little figure. And he does scale very well, I think, with this prime. So that is almost all the accessories. There is one more, and this is for truck mode, but we'll get to that a little later. So that is everything that this guy does come with. Let me get it all cleared off so we can do a direct comparison between the 2 primes here. Let's move all this stuff out of the way. There's quite a lot, of course, which is awesome. But here you can see the differences between the 2 figures. So of course the KO here on your left and prime, the official prime on the right. And so, of course, I still love the Studio Series Prime. I think he is an excellent mold, really well done by Hasbro. But this KO, I think, takes it to another level. You got a lot more silver paint apps where all this is gray on this guy. It's all silver on him. The paint is also more accurate. Instead of having yellow there, you have the gray there. The lights are picked out down there. I think overall, much more accurate paint scheme to the actual CGI robot. So really well done. And of course, you get much more movie accurate accessories. And I think his scaling actually looks pretty good if we compare, especially once you get them into alt mode, you'll see the difference. But just bringing in Bumblebee here, just so you can see the size difference, I think this scaling looks perfect. I think it would have been perfect had Hasbro made this figure a leader class, so I made him a little bigger, and I think this works really, really well. This will be my go-to prime, I think, right now for all my Studio Series Rise of the Beasts figures. There's a few other features, like the alt mode just really sells me, so I love this guy in alt mode, and I think that's why I'll really be keeping him in that, but we'll get to that in a minute. So just taking all these guys out of the way, I'll do a quick turnaround just so you can see. Of course, this guy doesn't have an Autobot logo from the factory, but there you go. And the back does also have more paint apps than the Studio Series. You get some more silver there, and then the legs, of course, are all in silver. And some of the plastic pieces are different. You can see also there are some taillights on the back of his feet. I'm not sure if it's accurate to the CGI, but it does work well in his alt mode. So really, really nice figures here. You can see there's even some more silver paint apps on the face sculpt, which is a little different than the Studio Series. Just taking a quick look at them side by side, you can see the face sculpt on the KO is actually slightly different. The Studio Series, I would say, is better, but the KO is definitely still a good look. This one reminds me a bit more of the Bumblebee movie, Optimus Prime, than like the actual CGI, than the Rise of the Beasts, but I think it looks really, really good regardless. Otherwise, most of the sculpted detail is the same, so that is about it, I think, for the comparisons there for robot mode. Now just taking off his blaster and his sword so we can get into articulation. So of course, same as the Studio Series figure, exactly the same. Heads on ball joint can look down about that far, can look up that far. You can tilt side to side, rotate the full 360. You don't have the shoulder joint still the same. I wish they would have fixed that and given him a proper shoulder joint. But so that is the shoulder. It does rotate all the way around. You do get the bicep bend. You do get kind of the double jointed elbow going on. Then you also get wrist rotation, and it does swivel in and out a little bit. You got the full waist rotation unhindered. You got the full ab crunch. It's like the original drop down hips. Same thing, have far back. Not really any backward movement. 90-degree bend out of the knees, and you do get all the ankle movement that you got with the original Studio Series figure as well, plus that thigh swivel. So very, very well done figure, originally by Hasbro. Really happy to see this actually having so many knockoffs, as I think there's a lot of improvement that they can make to this figure to make it a near perfect movie Optimus Prime. Now, one thing of note is these parts on the side, which are part of the redo in how this guy is designed, kind of the retooling that the MHZ toys did, is these are posable, so you can move them however you want. This is how they are on the box, so that is how I prefer to display them. And one word of note with this mold, if you hadn't figured it out already, you could put a matrix inside. This guy doesn't come with one, but if you wanted to, you of course could. Kind of stick one in there. It's hard to get it open right now, but this piece, this middle piece, does open up for a transformation, and you have plenty of space in there. You could easily fit a matrix if you wanted to, especially with this guy's bigger size. And also worth noting that how this piece is painted on this guy, where it's just gray plastic on the Studio Series figure. So really well done with the paint and everything on this guy. And he feels nice too. He doesn't feel, he feels just about as good as the Hasbro figure in terms of plastic quality. Now, some of the joints, like there's nothing that's really tight. There's a few that are a little bit loose, but nothing that will hinder posing. I think he's still a very good figure overall, and something that will hold up over time. So now let's get into transformation, which is again largely the same as the Studio Series figure, with a few minor differences. So of course, the truck cab is basically exactly the same. So just fold in those fists, rotate these around 90 degrees, open up cab sides here, and then we want to bend 90 degrees here, detach the front of the truck, and go ahead and flip out the wheels. And we can rotate the chest around, then tuck away his face, like that, take this all inside, like that, and close that up. Next, we want to bring those shoulders back, so just bend them backwards, hinge all this around, tuck the arms up inside, like so, and then collapse the side in, and there's one side almost done. Same thing on this side. So again, just like that, the Hasbro official figure, very similar transformation. Oh, always forget to rotate these panels down. Make sure you remember to rotate those panels down before everything's locked in place. So rotate those, bring everything inside here, snap that into place, and snap that arm into place, snap that into place, bring down these pieces, which now have been painted, or now are just red plastic. I think the way they should have been on the Hasbro figure. On the Hasbro one, if you look, they are gray, which sticks out like a sore thumb in truck mode. So nice to see those updated to a nice color to be consistent with the truck mode. Then the one other minor tolerance that I had on mine, which I just kind of fixed by shaving off a little bit of inside these ports, is that this originally didn't like to sit flush, and it still doesn't sit that flush, but I got it pretty good. So just a little bit of shaving of the inside and no problem. It sits nice and flush. All right, now to the legs, and this is where there are a few differences from the Hasbro figure. Oh, and also you do want to fold these panels down. You can hear our nice actual ratchet joints there. Well, not ratchets, but like soft ratchets. So first, of course, same as the Hasbro figure, detach from the inside. And then you'll see this whole panel is now on a ball joint and a hinge. So you just want to pull all this out, bend it down as far as it'll go, bend it up, and then rotate this section around. Now this ball joint is pretty easy to detach, like I did just there, but it does pop right back in, so no big deal. Fold that piece underneath, and just the same as the rest of the Hasbro figure, fold those feet up, and then same thing on the other side. Detach that bottom section, fold this up, rotate that, and rotate the section around. And now flip the foot in and combine these two halves. And now we just rotate it all, and same thing as the Hasbro figure, we're just lining up those tabs and slots the same way as that Studio Series. So bring all these down, bring all those down, and just start kind of straightening everything out. There we go. And pretty close. Now just port these pieces, his hip skirts, into the side. And then before you fold out the fuel tanks, it's where you want to move these things just down that toolboxes, and then flip out the fuel tank. Same thing on the other side. So rotate that down and flip out the fuel tank. And I think this front part does sometimes just pop out. There we go. Pop back in, and there is the base transformation for this guy all done. So as you can see, they have significantly, there's the camera here, significantly cleaned up that truck bed. That's the main, I think, appeal of this guy, is now those pieces on the Studio Series that stuck out are all tucked in. So just like this, it looks much, much better. You can see some of the differences in the plastic colors and the paint that they've used, so it looks really good. Again, lots of silver paint used on this guy. He looks like a premium finished figure. I think I got this for 25 bucks too. So you're getting like, you know, another 25% of a figure because it's bigger, but then you're also getting tons and tons of accessories, way more than Hasbro would give you over the course of like 5 Studio Series figures. So very, very nice to see. The other really fantastic update on this guy is the addition of dually wheels. For whatever reason, Transformers always leave out the fact that big rigs have dually wheels in back. So I really like that they have those dually wheels. Everything's pinned on, so it rolls very, very nicely. Of course, you just, might have to finagle the cab a little bit just so all the wheels touch the ground. But there you go. Looks really good. That all tapped in. You can see the front of the truck. Again, all nice and silver. And it looks really, really good. Now, if you're not actually done with the truck mode yet, you do have, I know, parts forming, but I think this is well worth it. You have this big piece, and there's 2 slots here that go over these tabs and back. And so it does just tab right on. It does also solidify the truck mode even a little bit more. Already is very solid, but now just take a look at that. That looks straight out of the movie. This is like the prop truck. I think this looks fantastic. And the instructions do show you how to store all of those weapons in alt mode, including with this big piece on. So if you want to do that, you can. I won't go over that here because I don't use that feature. But it is nice of them to go through all that engineering and include those parts. But there you go. This guy looks fantastic. I think he just looks fantastic. It looks so good. You can see the details on the back of this bed piece. And this hitch is removable. Not really a standard size port. I haven't tried it with any trailers yet, but I think it's actually too small for most of the trailer ports. So, and there are the taillights again. Otherwise, the rest of the details are very similar, minus having these pieces actually tuck away inside, and they help fill out that truck mode too even more. I think this looks so, so good. Now, just for a size comparison here in his truck mode, just so you can see how this scales, here is Mirage, and I think the scaling is so much better truck to car than what we normally get. I think this is perfect. I think MHZ Toys really knocked this one out of the park. It looks so, so good. You can recreate that, pose scene from the teasers before the movie came out. So there you go. Camera's a little crooked there, apologies. But there you go. Definitely recommend this figure. If it's still available from a Shizzy store, I may even pick up a second one to weather it. I love this figure so much. I think it's really, really nicely done. A few tiny minor issues, but honestly nothing that I think would be apparent on a Studio figure in general. And you get so many accessories like this really nice Noah Diaz, who can get him in that pose at the end of the movie, but there you go, just for size, you can see him there. Again, probably still a little bigger than he should be, but for the detail they packed into him and all the accessories, I think it's well worth the size. And he's so much more in scale than the one that Hasbro released without that big random jetpack thing that turned into a jet mode. But enough of my rambling. This is the figure. Highly recommend it. Again, this is Supreme Commander from MHZ toys. Thank you so much for watching, and until my next review, have fun, pick up this guy if you want him, if you're a live action movie fan, and I'll see you in the next review. Thank you so much for watching.